Love Like the Galaxy, the journey of Cheng Shaoshang and Ling Buyi. Through family struggles, court intrigues, painful pasts, and healing hearts, as they overcome betrayal, loss, and political turmoil to build a life filled with love, resilience, and hope that inspires generations across the empire. In the waning years of the Western Han Dynasty, political instability and corruption plagued the imperial court. Ambitious noble families and influential officials vied for power, weakening the empire's foundations and leaving the royal house increasingly vulnerable. Against this turbulent backdrop, Cheng Shaoshang was born into the distinguished Cheng family, known for its loyal service to the throne. Yet her life from the very start was marked by misfortune. Her parents, Cheng Shi and Cheng Song, were both summoned to fight at the distant borderlands shortly after her birth. They left behind their infant daughter in the care of her grandmother and aunt, believing she would be raised with love and care until their return. But that care never materialized. Instead, Shaoshang grew up neglected and unloved. Her grandmother, an austere matriarch, and her aunt, a bitter and resentful woman, treated her coldly, seeing her more as a burden than as family. She was given the bare minimum of food and attention, left largely to fend for herself. In the family compound, she lived as a shadow, watching from the sidelines as her cousins received the education, affection, and privileges denied to her. Each day of neglect hardened her spirit, teaching her to survive by relying only on herself. From a young age, Shaoshang became resourceful and cunning. She found ways to learn skills in secret and to care for her own needs when others ignored her. She observed people carefully, reading their intentions and emotions, because her survival depended on it. Yet beneath this shell of resilience lay a quiet longing for love, a yearning to be cherished by someone. That hope kept her going through the lonely years, though she dared not show it outwardly. Pride became her armor. She refused to let anyone see how deeply she longed for the care that was so freely given to others. Years passed in this state until her parents returned from the frontier. Shaoshang, now a young woman, awaited their arrival with a mix of hope and trepidation. She imagined that their return might finally bring her the affection she had been denied all her life. But reality proved far more complicated. Her mother, Cheng Shi, was a strict and disciplined woman, hardened by years of military campaigns. She believed in order and excellence, holding herself and others to impossibly high standards. When she saw her daughter's lack of refinement and polished manners, she was quick to judge and criticize. She wanted Shaoshang to become a model young lady of noble bearing, yet she failed to understand the scars left by years of neglect. This clash of expectations created tension between mother and daughter. Shaoshang, though capable and intelligent, had developed habits of self-preservation that her mother viewed as improper. Cheng Shi's harsh reprimands only deepened the distance between them. Shaoshang longed for her mother's approval, but found it difficult to meet her rigid expectations, and her pride made her resistant to constant criticism. Her father, Cheng Song, was more sympathetic to her plight, but he often chose to avoid direct confrontation with his formidable wife. Thus, Shaoshang found herself once again navigating family dynamics largely on her own, struggling to find her place in a household that seemed determined to misunderstand her. As she adjusted to life with her returning parents, Shaoshang began to draw attention in society. She had grown into a striking young woman, with a keen intelligence that matched her beauty. Suitors from prominent families came forward, each offering a different vision of what her future could be. Among them was Liu Yao, a gentle and kind-hearted young man from a respected family. His warmth and consideration stood in stark contrast to the coldness she had endured in her youth. And for a time, Shaoshang believed she might find happiness with him. He promised her a life of stability and quiet comfort, one where she would be valued and protected. Yet as Shaoshang spent more time with Liu Yao, she began to sense a lack of strength in his character. He was kind but timid, easily swayed by the opinions of others. While he admired Shaoshang's cleverness, he often deferred to his family's wishes rather than standing firmly on his own. She questioned whether a life with him, though peaceful, would truly satisfy the independent spirit she had cultivated. Still, the prospect of finally being cherished tempted her, and she weighed her options carefully. It was during this period of uncertainty that she encountered Ling Buyi, a man whose presence would alter the course of her life. Ling Buyi was a celebrated general of the empire, known for his strategic brilliance and fearlessness on the battlefield. He carried himself with an air of authority that made even the most powerful courtiers wary. Yet behind his stoic demeanor lay a tragic past. As a child, his entire family had been massacred in a politically motivated purge, leaving him an orphan with a deep wound in his heart. He was raised by the emperor and had since dedicated his life to the throne, but he never stopped seeking justice for the wrongs committed against his family. At first glance, Ling Buyi seemed cold and unapproachable. His reputation as a ruthless commander preceded him, and many feared his sharp mind and unyielding nature. But Shaoshang, ever perceptive, sensed that there was more to him than the facade he presented to the world. He, in turn, was drawn to her resilience and quick wit. He saw in her a reflection of his own struggles, a soul shaped by hardship yet unwilling to be broken by it. Unlike others, he did not seek to change her or mold her into someone else. Instead, he valued her for who she was, flaws and all. Their interactions were marked by a subtle but growing connection. Ling Buyi admired Shaoshang's independence, while she found comfort in his unwavering presence. He treated her with a quiet respect that she had rarely experienced, and his ability to see through her defenses unsettled her in ways she could not easily explain. But their bond developed in the shadow of the dangerous world they inhabited. Ling Buyi was deeply entangled in imperial politics, and his ongoing investigation into the massacre of his family placed him in constant danger. Shaoshang, though not directly involved, was inevitably drawn into his orbit and the perils that came with it. As their relationship deepened, Shaoshang faced difficult choices. Lu Yao's gentle courtship promised safety, while Ling Buyi's world was filled with uncertainty and risk. Yet she could not ignore the way her heart stirred in Ling Buyi's presence, nor could she deny the admiration she felt for his strength and sense of purpose. Their connection was not built on fleeting infatuation, but on a mutual understanding of what it meant to endure pain and keep moving forward. Meanwhile, the empire's troubles continued to escalate. Corruption in the court grew more brazen, and rival factions vied for influence over the young emperor. Ling Buyi's investigations revealed a web of conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of power, implicating individuals who would stop at nothing to protect themselves. The deeper he delved, the greater the danger became, not only to himself but also to those he cared about. Shaoshang, though inexperienced in the ways of the court, found herself caught in the crossfire more than once. Her quick thinking saved her on several occasions, but the constant threat of betrayal weighed heavily on her. Her relationship with her mother also remained strained. Cheng could not fully accept her daughter's independence, fearing it would lead to mistakes that could tarnish the family's honor. Shaoshang, in turn, resented the lack of trust and affection. Yet beneath the surface, there was a bond between them that neither could easily express. Both were strong-willed women shaped by difficult lives, and though their methods differed, each wanted the best for the other. Over time, Shaoshang began to understand the sacrifices her mother had made, even as she struggled to reconcile them with her own longing for warmth. The turning point in Shaoshang's personal journey came when she finally decided to break off her engagement to Lu Yao. Though he was kind, she realized that his path and hers were fundamentally different. She needed a partner who could stand beside her as an equal, someone who could weather life's storms with her. Lu Yao, for all his virtues, was not that person. The decision was not easy, but it marked a moment of growth for Shaoshang, a declaration of her right to choose her own destiny, rather than settling for comfort. This choice brought her closer to Ling Buyi, whose feelings for her had grown steadily despite his efforts to keep them in check. He feared that his dangerous life would bring harm to her, yet he could not deny the solace he found in her presence. For Shaoshang, his unwavering loyalty and quiet strength became a source of hope. She began to believe that love could be more than a fleeting dream, that it could be something enduring even in a world as uncertain as theirs. But just as their bond was solidifying, Ling Buyi's quest for justice reached a critical juncture. He uncovered evidence that pointed directly to powerful members of the imperial court as the architects of his family's massacre. Confronting them would mean defying individuals who wielded immense influence, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Ling Buyi's sense of duty to his family's memory clashed with his desire to protect Shaoshang from the dangers ahead. He knew that the path he was about to take could cost him everything, including the future they had only just begun to envision together. As Shaoshang stood at the threshold of a new chapter in her life, she faced the realization that love alone would not shield her from the harsh realities of the world. She had grown from a neglected child into a strong and capable young woman, but the trials ahead would test her in ways she could not yet imagine. And as Ling Buyi prepared to confront the enemies who had haunted him for so long, the bond between them would be pushed to its limits. Ling Buyi's decision to pursue the truth about his family's massacre marked the beginning of a treacherous journey that would test every aspect of his character. The evidence he uncovered implicated some of the most powerful figures in the imperial court, individuals who had long hidden their ambitions behind masks of loyalty. He knew that confronting them would ignite a storm that could consume not only him, but also those he loved. Still, the weight of his family's memory pressed heavily on him, demanding justice after years of silence. Ling Buyi's demeanor grew increasingly distant as he prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Though he cherished Shaoshang deeply, he feared dragging her into the dangerous vortex surrounding him. He began to withdraw from her, hoping that by creating distance, he could protect her from the powerful enemies he was about to challenge. But Shaoshang, sharp and perceptive as ever, sensed that something significant was amiss. Though he tried to shield her, she could not ignore the changes in his behavior or the shadows in his eyes. As the imperial court became a battlefield of intrigue, Shaoshang found herself swept further into its currents. The once simple world she had known as a child, marked by family conflict and personal longing, now expanded into a realm of political maneuvering and deadly ambition. She was not ignorant of the dangers. She had already endured betrayal and neglect, and she understood better than most how ruthless people could be when power was at stake. But she refused to stand by and watch Ling Buyi shoulder everything alone. Meanwhile, her relationship with her mother, Cheng Shi, underwent a gradual transformation. Years of tension and misunderstanding began to soften as both women came to recognize the love that had always existed beneath their sharp words and stubborn pride. Cheng Shi, who had once viewed her daughter's independence as a flaw, now saw it as a strength. She began to trust Shaoshang's judgment and to express, in her own reserved way, the care she had always felt but struggled to show. For Shaoshang, this newfound understanding with her mother was bittersweet. It healed a part of her heart that had long ached for maternal affection, yet it also underscored how much time they had lost. As Ling Buyi's investigation closed in on its targets, the danger escalated. The conspirators realized that their secrets were on the verge of being exposed, and they struck back with ruthless precision. False accusations, political manipulations, and assassination attempts became daily threats. Ling Buyi navigated these treacherous waters with the same strategic brilliance that had made him a feared general, but even he could not be everywhere at once. There were moments when Shaoshang herself became a target, forcing her to rely on her quick thinking and resilience to survive. Through these trials, Shaoshang's character continued to evolve. No longer the neglected child hiding in the shadows of the Cheng household, she emerged as a woman of remarkable strength and intelligence. She learned to balance her emotions with reason to protect herself without hardening her heart entirely. And though the world around her often felt uncertain, her bond with Ling Buyi became an anchor. He, too, found solace in her presence, even as he wrestled with the fear of losing her to the dangers that surrounded them. The climax of Ling Buyi's quest for justice came when he finally confronted the true orchestrators of his family's massacre. The confrontation was fraught with peril, for these were not mere rivals, but individuals with deep ties to the emperor and the power to shape the fate of the empire. The revelation of their crimes sent shockwaves through the court, exposing years of corruption and betrayal. The emperor, who had long trusted these figures, was forced to face the painful reality that those closest to him had betrayed the very ideals they were sworn to uphold. Ling Buyi's victory came at a heavy cost. The purge of the conspirators was swift and unforgiving, but it left him emotionally drained. The closure he had sought for so long felt hollow in the face of all that had been lost. He had avenged his family, but the years could not be reclaimed, and the wounds in his heart were not so easily healed. In the aftermath, he withdrew once again, this time not out of fear, but out of a deep sense of unworthiness. He questioned whether he could offer Shaoshang the stability and happiness she deserved, after a life marked by so much bloodshed and sorrow. Shaoshang, however, refused to let him retreat into isolation. She understood his pain, having endured her own struggles with abandonment and neglect. Rather than pity him, she stood beside him with quiet strength, reminding him that their love was not built on perfection, but on shared resilience. She had chosen him not because he was flawless, but because he saw her for who she truly was, and she would not allow his past to dictate the future they could build together. As the empire gradually stabilized in the wake of the purges, Ling Buyi and Shaoshang faced new challenges of a more personal nature. Marriage loomed as the next step in their relationship, yet it was not a decision either took lightly. Shaoshang, mindful of the life she had endured as a child, wanted to ensure that any family she built would be founded on love and mutual respect rather than obligation. Ling Buyi, for his part, feared that his lingering traumas might one day harm those he cared for most. Their path toward union was marked by moments of doubt, but also by profound growth. In time, their perseverance bore fruit. Ling Buyi came to understand that his worth was not defined by the tragedies he had endured, but by the choices he made moving forward. Shaoshang, too, embraced the idea that vulnerability was not a weakness, but a testament to her humanity. Together, they began to envision a future not bound by the scars of the past, but illuminated by the hope of what could be. The day of their marriage was a testament to how far they had both come. For Shaoshang, it symbolized the end of a long journey from neglect and loneliness toward a life where she was cherished. For Ling Buyi, it represented a chance to build the family he had lost so long ago, one rooted not in duty alone, but in genuine love. Their union was celebrated not only by their families, but also by the emperor himself, who regarded Ling Buyi as a son and Shaoshang as a symbol of the empire's enduring spirit. Even after marriage, the couple's lives were far from simple. Ling Buyi continued to serve the empire as a general, leading campaigns to secure its borders and maintain peace. Shaoshang, now a prominent figure in her own right, used her intelligence and influence to support him while also tending to the needs of their household. The bond between them deepened with each shared challenge, and though they faced occasional separations due to his duties, their trust in one another remained steadfast. Shaoshang also devoted herself to mending the bonds within her own family. Her relationship with her mother, once so strained, grew stronger with time. Chengshi learned to express her love more openly, while Shaoshang came to appreciate the strength her mother's discipline had instilled in her. She also built closer ties with her father and siblings, ensuring that the family she had once felt estranged from would never again be divided by misunderstandings. As the years passed, Shaoshang's story became one of healing and legacy. She was no longer the girl who had been left behind, but a woman who had carved her own path through a world that often sought to limit her. Her journey inspired those around her, especially young women who looked to her as proof that resilience and self-worth could overcome even the harshest of beginnings. Ling Buyi, too, found a measure of peace he had once believed unattainable. Though the memory of his family's massacre would never fade entirely, he no longer allowed it to dictate the course of his life. With Shaoshang by his side, he felt whole again, capable of giving and receiving love without fear. Together, they nurtured a household filled with the warmth and laughter that had been absent from both their childhoods. In the broader scope of the empire, their union symbolized hope. At a time when the Han dynasty had teetered on the brink of collapse due to corruption and power struggles, Ling Buyi and Shaoshang represented the possibility of renewal. Their integrity and devotion to one another served as a reminder that true strength lay not in domination, but in compassion and unity. Years later, as they looked back on their journey, they marveled at how far they had come. From the shadows of neglect and grief, they had built a life illuminated by love. Their story was not without its hardships, but those very challenges had forged the unbreakable bond they now shared. Shaoshang, who had once feared she might never belong anywhere, now stood at the center of a family she had helped create. Ling Buyi, who had once believed he was destined to be alone, had found in her the partner he had always needed. Their legacy endured long after their own time had passed. The values they embodied, resilience, loyalty, and the courage to choose love even in the face of adversity, continued to shape the lives of those who came after them. And though the world around them continued to change, the story of Ling Buyi and Cheng Shaoshang remained a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. In the end, Love Like the Galaxy was not merely a tale of romance, but a story of growth, redemption, and the unyielding belief that even in a world filled with darkness, love could be the brightest light of all.